There's a part of you that hides behind silence, a part that ruins things just as they begin to bloom, that pulls away, lashes out, disappears. It's not cruel, only frightened. Shadow work isn't a battle, it's a reunion. Tonight, we don't chase healing. We sit in the quiet and let the saboteur speak, not to scold it, but to understand its fear, its story, its longing to be seen. Beneath the wreckage, something sacred lives, a younger you still waiting for love it never learned to trust. Let's meet them now, gently, without turning away. Let us embark on a journey to the quiet corners of our psyche, where whispers of forgotten truths echo in the shadows. In this sacred space, we explore the shadow, a part of our soul that dwells just beyond the veil of consciousness. Carl Jung first illuminated this concept, urging us to treat the shadow not as an adversary, but as an inventive survivor, born from all we have cast aside in the pursuit of acceptance. This part of us, hidden yet powerful, is a mosaic of emotions, memories, and traits standing outside the glow of our polished persona. As we enter this realm, we must set aside judgments of morality. The shadow, far from being villainous, acts as a watchful guardian, constructing walls of stories and strategies to shield us from the harshness of rejection and despair. Formed from the essence of what we once disowned, it skillfully weaves barriers to protect our tender hearts. In acknowledging this truth, we start the process of reclaiming what has been exiled, discovering in the shadow not a foe, but an unrecognized part of ourselves, yearning for unity. From the dawn of our awareness, the shadow begins its evolution in response to the world's vast expectations. As children, we endure an overflow of feelings, occasionally too intense or deemed improper for certain settings. Thus begins a subtle migration of parts of our psyche to the unseen realms. Jung recognized this as the shadow's inception, not as a flaw, but a crafty adaptation, allowing us to traverse the intricate webs of society gracefully. These disowned aspects linger, forming a repository not of darkness alone, but of immense power and untapped potential. Our shadow evolves into a dynamic companion, subtly influencing the narratives that mold our reality. No longer simply a stash of discarded attributes, it holds a dormant artistry and intelligence waiting to be unleashed. Through the practice of shadow work, we journey towards conscientiously meeting this vitality, engaging with it to foster a terrain of authenticity and fullness. As we venture into this dialogue, we begin to dismantle the facades and constraints that obscure our inherent complexity, allowing room for self-expression and profound growth. As we proceed, we must shift our perspective beyond the simplistic labels of failure and inadequacy tied to the shadow's manifestations. These behaviors, procrastination, withdrawal, impulsivity, are not misfortunes to overcome, but messages from our inner exile, inviting us into awareness. With willingness to listen, we hear the stories our unconscious self wishes to share, echoing our fears and necessities, desiring to be accepted with empathy and wonder. Unveiling the core of our shadow lens reveals the myths influencing our self-image, legends crafted by society, family, and culture. These stories, like maps charted on fabric, steer us between expectations and aspirations, sometimes concealing the richness of our spirit. As we gently challenge these narratives, questioning their relevance and accuracy, we open the door to reinvent our legend, shape by truth rather than tradition. Through Jung's wisdom, we recognize the shadow as an intricate part of our journey towards self-fusion. It is defined by unseen energies, instincts silenced, and creativity suppressed. To journey through individuation, we must welcome all facets, ego, persona, shadow, into a harmonious union. Observing with kindness, we transition from condemnation to compassionate curiosity, revealing hidden talents and emotional links previously shrouded by denial. We begin with introspection, an act of gentle inquisitiveness, inviting the veiled dimensions to unfold. It is here, in the sacred pause, that dormant stories arise. With patience and a readiness to perceive, introspection becomes an enlightening bridge between perception and truth. Engaging with honesty, we lay bare the origins of our constructed self, embracing the shadow's depth as an integral part of our essence. Through integration, we gently reclaim fragmented and forgotten parts of ourselves. Healing emerges through acknowledgement, accepting that unwanted traits can coexist, offering insight and resilience. By nurturing this relationship with all aspects of our existence, we cultivate an empowered self, eager to embrace life's tapestry with wisdom and courage. The shadow now dances in concert with our internal world, a melody of unity radiating authenticity. Embracing the shadow is a pathway towards liberation, a release from the constraints of conformity and repression. As we embrace this shadow, we discard chains of perceived weakness, unlocking doors leading to empowerment and truth. Here, myths dissipate, allowing authenticity to take root, characterized by acceptance, forgiveness, and self-empathy. We release the discord between ego and shadow, reclaiming a self poised within the harmony of creativity and inherent strength. In this embrace, we echo a pledge to growth, heralding readiness to step into the radiant potential of our holistic being. In the hushed theater of life, we adorn ourselves with masks, each carefully crafted to beckon acceptance from the world around us. These personas, like an actor's costume, serve as shields, guarding the tender core of our being against the unwelcome sting of judgment. As time rolls on, the lines blur between the true self and the facades we wear. In Jung's teachings, the persona emerges not from malevolence but necessity, a testament to our innate yearning to belong. Yet as these masks harden into the fabric of our identity, they imprison the very essence they were meant to protect. We soon find ourselves caught in a dance between who we are and the reflection of who we believe others want us to be, losing sight of the honesty that beats within. Beneath this veneer, the fracture of self quietly grows, rooted in the constant pull between our public faces and the silenced voices within. The image we construct becomes a precarious edifice, nourished by external affirmations and fears, ever ready to crumble under the weight of doubt. In our quest to sustain this fragile persona, we engage in an unspoken pact of silence, suffocating our genuine desires. In this dichotomy lies an emotional chasm, a state of dissonance that leaves us bewildered and disconnected from the self that once thrived. It is a cognitive dance, a struggle to untangle the fragmenting threads of identity and lay bare a peace that resonates with authenticity. This journey into the abyss unearths the silent betrayal of our suppressed selves, those parts we banish in the name of conformity. Emotions deemed unsuitable for the narrative we wish to tell are buried deep in the shadow, fostering a rebellion that whispers from the depths of our being. Through subtle signs, the unexpected flare of emotion, the inexplicable fatigue, the psyche seeks recognition. It speaks, urging us to listen beyond the cacophony of societal demands. The cost of this suppression is high. Repressed emotions become a heavy cloak, deepening the rift between the shadow's whispers and the story we project into the world. Shame, a formidable figure in this shadow, lurks silently, feeding on secrecy and self-doubt. It entwines with our identity, convincing us of our unworthiness. This pervasive shadow drives us to build protective barriers, veiling our vulnerabilities to avoid rejection. Yet these barriers intended to shield become prisons that stifle authenticity and intimacy. Shame thrives in silence, yet in the bold act of revealing our hidden selves, it transforms into an invitation for self-discovery. As we begin to embrace shame with compassion, it loses its power, evolving into a catalyst for growth and liberation. Our identities, though multifaceted, often splinter under the weight of conflicting desires and external demands. These fractures reveal themselves in times of introspection, exposing the societal webs and personal narratives that compel us to fragment our sense of self. Yet within these splintered identities lie opportunities for profound self-discovery. Each fracture offers insight into the aspects we've neglected. Through this engagement, we navigate the journey toward wholeness, weaving a tapestry of unity from our diverse internal worlds. Within the shadows, repressed instincts and forgotten selves reside, yearning for expression. These buried instincts, creative, intuitive, spontaneous, represent the vitality often suppressed in favor of societal acceptance. Reconnecting with these instincts requires courage, as it demands confronting the fears we've internalized. As we honor these forgotten parts, we kindle a renewed sense of vitality and purpose, unlocking the vibrant spirit of our authentic core. In this twilight realm, self-doubt whispers its insidious lies, tainting how we view our worth and capabilities. It masquerades as pragmatism, curbing our growth and exploration. Yet, addressing self-doubt demands an embrace of radical honesty, engaging in dialogue that questions and reframes these limiting self-perceptions. Through this courageous exploration, self-doubt becomes both adversary and teacher, guiding us toward the resilience needed to transcend internal barriers. Reflection casts a gentle light on the path to healing, creating a sanctuary where self-awareness flourishes. Through practices like journaling and meditation, we disentangle internalized fears and expectations, gaining clarity in the process. Reflection invites us to observe our narratives without judgment, shifting from self-criticism toward transformation. This sacred pause unifies our fragmented selves, fostering growth and reconciliation. The journey back to authenticity marks a reclamation of self, a gradual unpeeling of layers accumulated over time. It involves redefining values from an internal standpoint, living by true desires and needs. Embracing vulnerability unveils the strength inherent in authenticity, grounded in understanding rather than opposition. This journey celebrates our unique identity and the resilience of our spirit in its relentless pursuit of truth. Embracing wholeness is an ongoing endeavor, a commitment to living as an integrated being within the multifaceted dance of existence. This embrace acknowledges every emotion, instinct, and experience as integral, It requires a shift from judgment to acceptance, from resistance to flow. Through dialogue with all aspects of ourselves, we transcend the need for external validation, nurturing a life enriched by insight and emotion. In this wholeness, we navigate complexities with grace and authenticity, honoring our path of self-discovery and transformation. In the hushed corridors of our inner world walks a familiar figure, the saboteur. Often mistaken for an adversary, this elusive presence is, in truth, a fragment of our own essence. It emerges through patterns of procrastination, the relentless pursuit of perfection, the chains of addiction, and the gravitational pull toward relationships that corrode rather than nurture. These may appear as destructive forces, yet, upon closer inspection, they are revealed as layers of protection, spun by our subconscious to shield us from perceived perils. The saboteur is not born of malice, but out of a misguided desire to safeguard us from harm or failure. Like a vigilant guardian, its interventions stem from a belief in the necessity of its actions to prevent a greater inner upheaval. Recognizing this, we can see it not as a villain, but as a misunderstood custodian. To acknowledge this figure is merely the first step. The challenge that lies beyond is to decipher the language it employs, for it does not speak in words, but in impulsive deeds and visceral responses. These manifestations often mock our conscious desires, ensnaring us in cycles that contradict our most fervent goals. The procrastinator halts in the face of tasks not out of sloth, but from the fear of inadequacy. The perfectionist delays completion, hoping to shield themselves from the sting of critique. The addict's grasp does not reach for joy, but seeks to numb a cacophony of uncomfortable truths. By delving into these depths, we uncover the saboteur's language, a language of fear and protection rather than defiance and failure. Contained within the heart of the saboteur are the masks it adorns, mechanisms intended not to deceive others, but to veil its true intentions from our conscious selves. The inner critic's voice echoes thoughts that are often mistaken as our own, with its harsh words amplifying our perceived inadequacies. Yet beneath this relentless critique lies vulnerability, a core attempting to shield against the pain of external judgment by enacting its own. What emerges in this exploration is the revelation that self-criticism is not an attack, but a misguided form of self-preservation. Perfectionism offers another guise, presenting as a pursuit of excellence, while beneath, anxiety festers, a constant dread of anything less than flawlessness equating to failure. This strives toward an impossible standard, robbing the joy of the journey and obscuring the authentic self beneath a veneer of perceived ideals. To dismantle its grasp is to embrace the beauty of imperfection, to redefine success not as flawlessness, but as a pathway of growth and learning. Through the veneer of addiction, the saboteur seeks not confrontation, but escape, a desperate plea for relief from substances or compulsions, filling a void left by unprocessed trauma or unmet needs. It promises temporary solace at great cost, obscuring healing through a cycle of dependency. Addressing this requires peeling back layers to reveal the raw fears and wounds beneath. Healing beckons as we embrace discomfort and recognize that freedom lies within the courage to confront these truths. The tangle of toxic relationships often reflects inner turmoil. Such bonds are mirrors of our unresolved conflicts, dynamics that replicate patterns of unavailability or manipulation, driven by narratives of worthiness and love learned in past shadows. These relationships are not merely about others, but about the scripts we live out subconsciously. Liberation comes through introspection and reevaluating these narratives, allowing us to shift from unconscious sabotage to conscious choice. Amid these shadows emerge emotional triggers, not interruptions, but invitations, echoes from unhealed parts calling for attention. Triggers are the shadow's way of drawing us toward unresolved wounds through outsized reactions to small stimuli. They serve as invitations to dive into an inquiry that requires grace and patience, illuminating paths to self-understanding and resilience. Forgiveness, often misperceived as an act of surrender, is another potent form of self-liberation. It is not about ignoring wrongs, but releasing their grip. If seen as surrender, it restricts us. Yet, as an act of liberation, it dismantles resentment's hold, transforming narratives of suffering into resilience and compassion. The journey toward embracing self-authorship calls for a revolution within, a reclaiming of identity beyond the fear-driven scripts imposed by the saboteur. This practice of empowerment involves aligning everyday choices with true desires and core values, enabling the rewriting of the narratives that no longer serve. Through this, we transcend constraints, building a path filled with creativity and genuine purpose. Finally, integration marks a harmonious dance, not as a conqueror, but as a companion. By weaving awareness into the shadow's patterns, a dance of wholeness begins. The saboteur becomes an ally, whispering truths and shedding light on unhealed parts. This journey invites us to walk with the shadow, accepting its teachings as pivotal in our evolution, transforming it into a collaborator, guiding us on a path of self-discovery and liberation. In the quiet corners of consciousness lies a meticulously crafted haven, a refuge woven from threads of denial. This sanctuary is not a mere refusal to face reality. Rather, it is a delicate construct where the tender self seeks solace from the relentless onslaught of truth. Denial, at its essence, acts as a shield, protecting us temporarily from overwhelming emotions and harsh realities. It channels us back to childhood moments when our minds, still tender and forming, conjured creative strategies to cope with bewildering influences. In this fortress, the very fabric of denial thrives, cloaking raw emotions and traits that seem too daunting to know, feeding the shadow that whispers below. In this tranquil shelter, the shadow finds nourishment. It grows robust, thriving on suppressed fears and neglected truths that we, often unknowingly, cultivate. Denial envelops our daily lives with a subtlety that is rarely acknowledged, guiding perceptions and nudging choices with veiled motives. Yet, as we dwell in this apparent safety, we pay the price of growth, becoming distant from the parts of ourselves that yearn for light and integration. The journey to move beyond this alluring refuge demands gentle self-acknowledgement, understanding that what once served as protection may now impede the path to authenticity. In the shadow's realm, logic falters. It speaks a language that logic cannot understand, instead weaving its tales through dreams and symbols that escape our waking grasp. Dreams, those nighttime narratives, reveal fragments of repressed truths. Carl Jung likened dreams to windows into the unconscious, offering glimpses into the shadow through symbolic and surreal tales. These nocturnal stories demand more than mere analysis. They require a heart open to the whisperings of one's soul. As barriers dissolve, dreams unveil the narratives of our unspoken desires and conflicts, providing a mirror to our hidden selves. Symbols further entwine our waking lives, manifesting as persistent patterns and synchronicities that echo the unvoiced. They are messages from the shadow, beckoning us to decipher the stories they hold. Recurring images or encounters, perhaps with a certain animal or object, resonate with aspects we disown or covet. Acknowledge these symbols not as mere coincidence, but as sacred messengers, guiding us toward concealed truths and urging deeper introspection. Embracing them lifts the veil of denial, transforming fears into insights and cultivating a deeper understanding of the self. Denial finds refuge in the embrace of spiritual bypass. Wrapped in the guise of enlightenment, this sophisticated sanctuary deflects authentic emotional depth. It arises when spiritual paths cloak personal wounds and psychological challenges, promoting a relentless pursuit of positivity, yet circumventing human experiences' complex dance. This insistence on transcendence often bypasses the raw realities of anger, grief, and vulnerability, leaving shadows unchecked as one floats toward ascension devoid of grounding. Amid this quest for spiritual integrity, practices can indeed inspire peace and clarity. When misused, they bolster denial, feeding the very darkness they seek to dissolve. True spiritual growth honors all experiences, accepting the tumultuous with the serene. Through compassionate acceptance of life's messiness, we unveil a path beyond evasion toward genuine transformation, as the sanctuary of denial gives way to a profound internal revolution. In a realm filled with ideas, intellectualization stands as the mind's fortress against emotional chaos. Here, feelings are dissected and categorized, offering an illusion of control. Yet, much like spiritual bypass, it is a sophisticated strategy of avoidance, hollowing life's rich texture into concepts rather than experiences. The paradox of intellectualization is that by trying to understand emotions logically, their essence is diluted, and genuine connections with self and others falter. Wisdom comes not merely from understanding, but from experiencing. By allowing ourselves to feel, we liberate the shadow's grasp, transforming denial into a beacon of healing insight. Emotional honesty then becomes a lantern, its gentle light dissolving denial's walls. This honesty mandates vulnerability and courage, inviting candid dialogue with oneself and cultivating deeper self-connection. Practicing such honesty fosters trust and dispels shadows of misunderstanding, stepping stones toward integrating all aspects of the self. Awareness, meanwhile, acts as a transformative force, transmuting shadowy secrets into clarity and wisdom. Mindfulness invites us to observe, not judge, creating space to hear the shadow and transform denial into understanding. Through this awareness, patterns and triggers reveal themselves, and the refuge of denial crumbles under their scrutiny. As the narrative of life unfolds, we are called to rewrite stories shaped by denial, using narrative therapy to deconstruct and redefine experiences, offering freedom from these chains. Rituals like journaling or meditation ground us, providing anchor points in the sea of emotional truth, enticing the shadow into the light. By embracing vulnerability, we unlocking denial's gate, transforming the sanctuary into freedom, and accepting our full spectrum of experiences with open arms, courageously stepping onto the path of self-realization. In the quiet corridors of our inner world, emotional triggers lurk like echoes of forgotten events cast long ago. These triggers are not mere nuisances, but potent messengers from the depths of our subconscious, whispering stories of unresolved pasts and unmet needs, all woven into the fabric of our present. They are subtle provocations, urging us to lean into the tumultuous emotions they rouse rather than shy away. When a seemingly trivial event stirs something deep within, it acts as a gentle beckoning, inviting us to unravel the tapestry of our hidden layers. Each reaction, whether it shields us with anger or wraps us in despair, is a breadcrumb leading us deeper into the uncharted realms of our psyche. Our emotional triggers reveal the reflections of our shadow selves, those exiled fragments yearning for acknowledgement and reintegration. In our haste to ascribe blame to the outside world, we often overlook the opportunity to discover these hidden aspects, preciously guarding wounds we scarcely know exist. This transformative journey from discomfort into growth teaches us that every emotional reaction is an invitation, a chance to rediscover the pieces of ourselves scattered along time's pathway. Delving deeper into this emotional landscape, we encounter the mechanism of projection. Here, we find ourselves perhaps unwittingly casting our shadow on those around us, attributing our own disquieting thoughts and feelings to another. This unconscious projection is a mirror reflecting the parts of us we struggle to accept. Rather than lay judgment or burden others with these unresolved echoes, we find that true liberation comes from introspectively asking ourselves, what part of me do I see here? Stripping back the layers of projection invites vulnerability, requiring us to confront and embrace the narratives we have long denied. As we dance through the corridors of our inner world, we encounter displacement, a subtle redirection of emotional energy, cast from its rightful source to a safer vessel. A misfired anger or misplaced frustration becomes a temporary balm, obscuring the root of our emotional turmoil. Yet the true power lies in tracing this energy back to its origin, unearthing the stark realities entangled in our psyche. With each uncovering, we peel back the layers of inauthentic response, clearing the way for authentic emotional expression to emerge unimpeded. Navigating this intricate dance of emotions, we learn the art of pausing between stimulus and response. Here, in this sacred space, we find the potential to shape our engagement with the world anew. Mindfulness becomes our guide, fostering an awareness that attunes us to the subtle ripples of thought and feeling that precede action. Engaging in meditation, journaling, or contemplation sharpens this inner vision, gradually transforming reflex into intention, untethering us from the chains of habitual reaction. As we weave through the tapestry of self, introspection becomes both companion and guide, leading us back to the raw, unformed clay of our inner world. Within its gentle embrace, we find the courage to re-examine long-held beliefs, uncovering the unconscious motivations, igniting our emotional triggers. This reflective practice offers a perch from which to view our patterns and relationships with the clarity of a detached observer, guiding us to chart a new course in the dance of life. Emotional triggers thus transform into portals, beckoning us to venture into the unexplored territories of self. Viewed through this lens, they emerge not as adversaries but as allies, signposts guiding us toward the fragments of ourselves that require tender exploration. This shift from victimhood to empowerment reframes our narrative, making way for an understanding steeped in newfound depth and richness. Our emotional tumultions become a language, spoken by the unconscious in tones beyond mere words or conscious grasp. In nurturing this dialogue with our inner realms, we embark on a journey to translate its elegant, cryptic script. Through dream journaling, creative expression, and meditation, we bridge the conscious and unconscious, reclaiming lost whispers of the soul and inviting them into a healing conversation. And still deeper, the shadow itself calls to speak, a voice long silenced, waiting patiently for its moment. We offer it space, allowing its stories to find expression through shadow journaling or visualizations. In listening, we accept the full spectrum of our being, orchestrating a harmonious dance of healing and integration. Here, in the sacred exchange between light and shadow, we dismantle the barriers erected by fear and resistance. Embracing discomfort as a sacred messenger, we no longer flinch at its touch. Instead, with open hearts, we welcome the insights it offers about our current state, translating turbulence into precious opportunities to evolve. With each revelation, resilience is forged, illuminating a path woven through the fullness of human experience. In these rich, transformative moments, the sacred art of emotional alchemy unfolds. Here, charge fuels growth, propelling self-awareness and integration to new heights. Techniques like breathwork, expressive arts, and movement serve as vehicles for this energy, guided gently into channels of strength and understanding. In marrying the shadow with our conscious self, we unlock the potential to create lasting, harmonious change, both within and radiating outward. In every journey towards self-understanding, there arrives an inevitable whisper, a subtle call to descend into the depths of one's own soul, the mysterious underworld that lies within. This is not a fall from grace, but rather an invitation to explore the richness of our authentic selves, to navigate beyond the polished veneers of everyday life into the shadowy, intricate tapestries that reside beneath. The descent is a rite of passage, a solemn transition from superficial awareness to profound wisdom. It echoes through time in mythological tales, where heroes ventured into darkness, facing formidable challenges, only to emerge stronger and more integrated. These tales remind us that the underworld is both a realm of trial and of profound insight, a fertile ground where self-awareness and acceptance begin to take root. Throughout history, the myths of Inanna, Persephone, and Orpheus have served as guiding lights for those embarking on such inner voyages. Inanna's descent shows the shedding of superficial identities, disrobing her royal garments to stand naked in vulnerability, a powerful metaphor for the stripping away necessary in shadow work. Persephone's tale is one of forced confrontation with hidden aspects of the self. Her eventual return, a reminder of the cyclical dance between uncovering the hidden and reintegrating it into consciousness. Orpheus, in search of Eurydice, warns of the dangers in looking back, losing the treasures gained from this treacherous journey. These myths are more than stories. They are maps, illustrating a shared archetypal journey through darkness toward transformation. Within this underworld looms the dark forest, a place where the fears that haunt our psyche manifest with vivid potency. Here, the shadow self thrives, unveiling forgotten experiences and repressed emotions that slip into the crevices of consciousness. Embracing vulnerability, acknowledging fears as intrinsic parts of the human experience, becomes paramount. This initial confrontation might unsettle, as the mind wrestles with the shadow's unsettling whispers, appearing as terrifying dreams or emotional upheavals. Yet by gently illuminating these shadows through compassionate acknowledgement, not forceful repression, integration slowly begins. In the quiet of the forest, fear transforms from adversary to guardian of energy awaiting understanding. Emerging from the forest, one may find solace in a quiet cave, a place of introspective refuge. This space of silence becomes a sacred canvas for self-discovery, where the soul's whispers are heard amidst the absence of external noise. In this cave, stillness isn't passive resignation, but an intentional pause, dissolving illusions to reveal the authentic core. This space offers a stark realization that transformation arises not through battling the shadow, but by engaging it in gentle dialogue. Here the shadow speaks, and listening without judgment becomes a sacred act, fostering deep introspection and ultimate acceptance. The journey through the underworld often feels like a long fall inward, a sensation of releasing the constructs of false security. Surrendering rigid control opens one to insights that only surface when resistance fades. This descent isn't about defeat. It's an empowering choice to engage life's complexities with open-hearted awareness. It acknowledges the psyche's cyclical nature, a dance between conscious and unconscious realms. Only through this act of letting go can one explore the profound depths of the human experience. As one ventures deeper, shadows begin to speak. Listening without judgment becomes essential, for every aspect of the shadow carries stories of survival and desires unmet. This space encourages curiosity instead of condemnation, transforming fear into understanding and isolation into profound self-connection. In this sacred space of unconditional acceptance, the line between darkness and light blurs, and integration quietly begins. This delicate dialogue forms the cornerstone of authentic growth and healing. At the heart of the underworld lies the opportunity to illuminate unconscious riches, unearthing creative potential and hidden wisdom. This confrontation isn't just about facing demons. It is about reclaiming parts of ourselves previously obscured by shadow. Within the unconscious lie dormant talents and forgotten potentials, revealing transformation not as a journey toward becoming someone else, but as an embrace of one's neglected powers and beauties. By accepting this reality, the psyche grows richer, suffusing life with newfound authenticity and creative force. Embracing this transformative journey involves rituals that delineate the sacred from the mundane, embedding the experience within tangible practice. These rituals, be they meditative reflections, journaling, or symbolic acts, provide structure to the shadow work journey, anchoring the depths within a framework of exploration. Through ritualistic practices, insights transition from discovery to lived experience, bridging the space between inner revelation and daily life. As you stand face to face with the shadow self, it beckons a compassion that extends beyond mere self-acceptance. This encounter is a chance to witness the shadow's contributions to your narrative, not with condemnation, but gratitude for its role in your survival and history. Compassion guides, encouraging the shadow's humane treatment, fostering healing, and reconciling internal strife. In this compassionate engagement lies the return to wholeness, embracing all facets with grace and a genuine understanding. Emerging from the underworld symbolizes a profound transformation, an ascent imbued with insights, and acceptance procured through shadow work. This emergence heralds not a return to one's former identity, but a rebirth into a more resilient, integrated self. Having traversed these depths, you rise with an enriched capacity for authenticity and a renewed comprehension of shadow and light's interconnected dance. It is a testament to courage and the spirit's power to confront, integrate, and transcend past constraints, beginning anew, where shadow and light dance harmoniously as personal growth unfolds as a lifelong dynamic journey. Deep within each of us lies a shadow, a silent companion cloaked in mystery and misunderstood intentions. To reach out to this hidden side requires a gentle willingness to traverse the unknown, stepping across a threshold where the conscious mind brushes against the endless depths of the unconscious. It is a boundary, a demarcation of fear and resistance, yet one that, when approached with openness and acceptance, begins to dissolve into understanding. Here at this liminal space, we must first acknowledge the existence of the shadow, recognizing it not as the enemy, but as a fractured reflection yearning for our compassion. The conscious intention should not be to conquer or dispel this darkness, but to listen and uncover the stories it holds. Stories formed from the pieces of ourselves we've long discarded. In this sacred space of introspection, judgments drift away like fallen leaves, and curiosity blooms, inviting the shadow's voice. It speaks through dreams, disjointed feelings, and elusive symbols, urging us to approach with patience. As the shadow begins to reveal fragments of its world, a bridge starts to form between what we know and the mysteries waiting to unveil themselves. Imagine, if you will, a serene sanctuary, a warm, flickering fire amidst a quiet forest, or a dimly lit room filled with gentle whispers of silence. It is here that you invite the shadow to join you. Here there is no fear, no judgment, only the openness of a new dialogue. Picture your shadow, the saboteur, sitting across from you, holding secrets to behaviors, fears, and patterns we find ourselves repeating. As we engage with this aspect of ourselves, we ask not with accusation, but with genuine curiosity. What are you protecting me from? These queries open pathways, encouraging the shadow to disclose its protective nature. In this exchange, much may be uncovered. Grief, pain, desires hidden from the conscious self for too long. Our shadow is a guardian, speaking not in words, but in symbols. This language manifests through dreams, art, and unexpected emotions, serving as messengers of the subconscious. Jung once suggested that the shadow's language defies straightforward understanding, residing instead in the mystical and symbolic. Thus, engaging with these symbols demands an attitude not of egoic deciphering, but of creative openness. Let thoughts flow candidly in journals. Let art capture the inexpressible nuances of the heart. As these symbols arise, they are invitations for reflection and meaning, keys to unlocking deeper truths about who we are. Here, on this journey inward, emotions surface, often tangled, bringing with them complexity. Fear, anger, sadness, often seen as unwanted, emerge, revolutionizing our perceptions. These emotions are vital guides rather than hindrances. They indicate spaces within us neglected or rejected. When emotions swell, allow them simply to be, without classification or correction. Embrace anger as a guardian of boundaries, sadness as a voice of unspoken grief. By permitting them their place, these emotions illuminate parts of ourselves, yearning to be heard. As the dialogue deepens, it carries the threads of grief, the grief of unhealed wounds and unfulfilled dreams. Though it pains, this grief cradles potential for growth and comprehension. Nurture this intimacy with the shadow, acknowledging its grief not as sorrow to be compounded, but as an ally on the journey to healing. In its presence lies a realization of resilience and inherent worth. Fear arises, the unspoken protector hidden in the shadow. More than an obstacle, it is a guide, warning and sometimes holding us back. Reframe fear not as a barrier, but as an ally, noting its messages shielded beneath the surface. Untangle fears with curiosity, seeing through them to their true purpose, be it protection or insight. By allowing fear to guide, not hinder, we invite transformation, evolving together into allies sharing a common path. As we listen, we begin crafting new narratives. In confronting these shadows, we rewrite the stories that define us, stories perhaps marked by shadows' judgments and revelations. This is the art of self-authorship, reclaiming our narratives, elucidating them with newfound acceptance. Through this renewal, we reclaim our story and our life, aligned with wholeness, welcoming past wounds in the light of understanding. Within the shadow stirs untensioned wisdom. As conversations unfold, shadowed truths rise, illuminating with clarity. By embracing this wisdom, acknowledging its presence, we nurture a self reflected in complexity, untethered by masks worn each day. These insights deliver us to a life anchored in purpose and fulfillment, a reminder that from shadowed darkness can spring light. Crucial to this engagement is the absence of judgment, an unbounded freedom allowing the shadow to reveal itself unhampered. Accept every insight not as flaws to correct, but as mosaics, completing our identity, a whole unified from disparate parts. Through compassionate listening, the shadow's voice is given room to resonate, creating trust and bringing forth a balanced dance between conscious and unconscious realms. Acceptance is the shadow's ultimate gift, not merely of its presence, but of the entire self. It is an acceptance dynamic and alive, continually evolving as we tenderly traverse along the intertwined journey of conscious light and unconscious night. Through this dance arises harmony, a loving embrace of what once seemed impenetrable. Here, the shadow is no longer an adversary, but an honorable ally, guiding the sacred journey toward a holistic reunion with oneself. In the stillness of night, where shadows cast longer and the mind dares to wander, we find ourselves face to face with the emotions we often fear to name. Anger strikes unexpectedly, a wild and untamed force, pouring forth like lava from a simmering volcano. Yet beneath its fiery presence lies a quiet truth. Anger guards our unspoken frailties, a sentinel that rises when boundaries are breached, when silence no longer suffices. It is a call from deep within, urging us to listen, to decipher the language of wounds, long endured and needs unmet. Here, anger transforms, not into chaos, but into a beacon, guiding us to advocate for the sanctity of self-respect. Amidst the shadows also dwells shame, a hidden specter whispering tales of unworthiness and regret. It clings persistently, shadowing our steps and casting a veil over our truth. Born from moments when our authenticity met with judgment, it weaves a narrative of self-doubt, binding us in silence. Yet, to confront shame is not to battle it. It is to shine light upon its narratives, acknowledging the rules and voices that silence our true self. By stepping gently into its embrace, we recognize shame as a mirror, reflecting not our flaws, but a universal human experience of vulnerability. In this softness, we find freedom, unburdened by the need to be perfect, free to stand whole and human. In the dance of emotions, lust emerges, vibrant and full of life. It pulses within, a driving force often misunderstood and caged by whispers of impropriety. Yet, it is within this energy that life finds its momentum, an ever-present muse for creation and connection. Instead of veiling it in shadows, we can ask what it offers, allowing its vibrancy to color our world with passion and movement. As we untangle lust from the chains of taboo, it becomes not a threat to our morality, but a celebration of our innate creativity, an invitation to step into the fullness of existence, unapologetically alive. Power, too, awaits examination, often mistaken for the forceful hand of domination. Misunderstood, it divides, constrains, and dehumanizes. Yet when recast, power reveals itself as an inner strength, a quiet fortitude that honors integrity and balance. In our exploration, we confront the darker urges for control, shifting our understanding from domination to empowerment. This transformation is our path to true sovereignty, where power becomes a shared responsibility, a dance of equals. It invites collaboration, a tapestry of mutual respect, where empowerment is drawn not from overt control, but from the quiet certainty of self-awareness and interconnectedness. In the heart of this journey lies the alchemy of the psyche, where shadows are not cast aside, but woven into the larger fabric of who we are. Embracing these emotions requires not the eradication of discomfort, but its transformation. Rage, shame, lust, and power become teachers, offering wisdom as we tune into their whispers with compassion. This is shadow integration, the golden art of melding what is heavy with what is light, creating a harmony where every emotion has its place, honored and embraced. Myth and archetype guide us on this golden journey, illuminated by symbols as ancient as the stars. The shadow archetypes face off with their lighter counterparts, the lovers, the sages, offering a canvas where we paint our self-discovery. Within the duality of these roles, we see the reflection of our inner worlds, the play between light and darkness that defines our humanity. The narrative we build through these myths is not one of opposition, but integration, where all parts find their voice and are encouraged to sing. Balance dances through these reflections, a rhythmic sway between paradoxes. We navigate the edges between shadow and illumination, rage and peace, drawing strength from the tension between them. Instead of seeking resolution, we explore, finding grace and resilience in the uncertainties of life. This dance invites us to embrace the fullness of the human experience, to live in the paradox with eyes wide and hearts open. Stories of transformation, whispered across generations, serve as the ancient mirrors that reflect our shared struggles and triumphs. They offer a guide, illuminating paths previously trodden by those who came before. Through these tales, we uncover truths that speak to all of humanity, reminding us that shadow work is a timeless passage toward authenticity. Within these ancient narratives, we forge new pathways for self-awareness, crafting stories that define our journey toward wholeness. With intention, we weave rituals of presence into the fabric of our lives, grounding ourselves in the practice of patience and stillness. Embracing the shadow requires a mindful dance, a dialogue infused with curiosity and openness. Through meditation, journaling, and acts of embodied mindfulness, we create sacred spaces for self-exploration. These practices nurture the alchemy of emotion and spirit, grounding us as we navigate the shadows, a gentle guidance from within. Embracing empowered vulnerability becomes the cornerstone of this sacred journey. It calls us to courageously accept our flaws and fears, transforming them into strength and resilience. By facing our shadows with grace, we let go of pretense, stepping into a realm where acceptance reigns and authenticity thrives. In this space, we find a profound connection to our core self and others, nurturing a sanctuary of truth. Here, amid shadow and light, we claim our place whole and celebrated. In the sacred journey toward wholeness, we venture into our own untamed landscapes, acknowledging the chaos and richness that lie within. Our inner world, far from a pristine sanctuary, thrives in this chaos, a wild garden where creativity blooms in unexpected corners. To journey here is to invite all parts of ourselves to the table, especially those shunned under the harsh light of judgment. We are a symphony of contradictions, each note contributing to the harmony of our being. The wild child within, often silenced, embodies the spontaneity and creativity society tends to quell. Like nature, thriving in its own splendid disorder, the human psyche is most alive when freed from rigid control, when we heed the call of our true selves, allowing creativity to emerge in vibrant strokes. Amid this dance of chaos, fear often lurks, but it bears gifts when transmuted into curiosity. Each tumultuous feeling, every burst of anger or passion, holds a secret message about our desires and boundaries. Fear, when embraced, becomes a teacher, hinting at paths to deeper self-awareness. The temptation to vilify our feelings fractures us, denying the wisdom within so-called negative emotions. To dance with chaos is not to live recklessly, but to open ourselves to the wholeness of experience, integrating each emotion, each impulse, without sanitizing the intricate tapestries of our inner life. In the shadow's embrace, amid what we label undesirable or unworthy, lie gifts wrapped in layers of avoidance and judgment. These hidden treasures, resilience and cowardice, safety and fear, freedom and defiance, urge us to realign with our authentic selves. What if the coward whispers the importance of boundaries, urging us to draw lines in the sand? Might the sinner, challenging our moral rigidity, invite us to a broader understanding of our ethical landscape? Vulnerability becomes our ally, allowing us to peer into the mirror without flinching, to see shadow not as foe, but as a familiar friend. Our journey defies the siren call of perfection, weaving flaws into the fabric of our being. Wholeness is not idealization, but coexistence, light and dark, strength and frailty entwined. It's an ongoing dialogue, aligning each facet of self without banishing shadow or yearning for unattainable purity. This tender acceptance, a gentle harvesting of life's lessons, paints a rich tapestry of our human experience, where so-called imperfections bloom into insights. Synthesis of self rivals alchemy, transforming fragmented elements into golden wholeness. Instead of wielding fragments as weapons, we invite them into dialogue, discovering how each, regardless of its origin, contributes to our personal narrative. Integration requires the humility to admit what we've disowned could be vital, cultivating a landscape of internal balance, a dance where shadow is ever present, not as an antagonist, but a guide. Duality, inherent to our essence, beckons us to dance, love and fear, sorrow and joy in delicate tandem. Opposition becomes a false dichotomy. Instead, we nurture harmony, weaving opposing threads into the rich tapestry of our being. Paradox becomes a wellspring of understanding, each contradiction an invitation to explore the vast continuum of self. By embracing duality, we flourish beyond linearity, crafting lives, embracing the unpredictable, thriving in life's fluidity. In this dance, the art of non-defense emerges, strength revealed in vulnerability, where our instinct to guard against discomfort dissolves. True strength flourishes within vulnerability, where we open our hearts, allowing emotions to breathe and dance unguarded, fostering resilience and a compassionate dialogue with ourselves. We dismantle the barriers we erect, creating a sanctuary of safety within, a haven where we navigate life's complexities with grace. As night enfolds the day, as words give way to silence, we open a dialogue with shadow, a conversation whispered with loving curiosity. Through journaling, mindfulness, introspection, we attune ourselves to shadow's messages. By engaging with shadow, we become fluent in our internal languages, translating whispers into wisdom, deepening self-awareness and emotional resilience. Shadow becomes a chorus, a vital thread in the larger tapestry of our awakening. And so, embracing imperfection, we redefine wholeness, crafting sacred space within, a haven unscathed by the world's judgments. Here within this sanctum, we nurture the whole of who we are, a symphony of self-acceptance, harmonizing disparate parts. A commitment to knowing ourselves profoundly and intimately, embracing the wildness within, the shadows, and the light, becomes a dance, a celebration of life's full tapestry in its most exquisite, untamed form. In the gentle embrace of twilight, as the world's din wanes into the night's soft cloak, we find ourselves at a crucial juncture, the tranquil moment where shadow and self meet, not as foes, but as companions long estranged. This journey we have undertaken beckons us to see the shadow not as a serpent of sabotage, but as an ancient guardian of unrealized strength, poised in the quiet corners of our being. As the soft first light of understanding sheds over this landscape, it becomes apparent that the shadow is neither curse nor crutch, but rather a fierce protector and insightful guide. By allowing it a seat at the table of our psyche, we absorb its wisdom, finding in its depths the seeds of resilience and profound adaptability. To walk with the shadow is to shift not only the lens through which we peer within, but also the standpoint from which we regard the world outside. acceptance unfurls with grace, transforming resistance into gentle acquiescence, giving rise to nurturing empathy and genuine compassion. These qualities anchor our personal evolution as we greet the immense energy that the shadow holds, not with trepidation, but with tender curiosity, a commitment to uncovering its creative and nurturing potential. In this sacred dialogue between shadow and self, our identity blurs into a seamless tapestry of light and dark, each hue enhancing the rich complexity of our human experience. Amidst this unfolding narrative, rituals of self-reflection form our guiding light, each one an invitation to delve deeper and listen more intently. Journaling, with its tactile eloquence, transforms thoughts to paper, capturing the unvoiced narratives of our inner world with clarity and grace. Here, amidst ink and parchment, the shadow speaks in gentler whispers, revealing truths that surface amidst the quietude of evening reflections. Simultaneously, the serene immobility of meditation opens a portal to the subconscious, allowing shadowed elements to rise without fear of judgment. In such stillness, we look upon our thoughts not as reflections of our being, but as passing clouds in an infinite sky, acknowledging yet not adhering to their transient whispers. Creative expression in all its forms, art, dance, music, stands as a sacred bridge between the veiled depths and the conscious self, permitting the shadow to express its enigmatic beauty. Through creation, the lines of imagination blur, forming the eloquent language of the soul that transcends the spoken word. Art becomes both sanctuary and canvas, where the shadow is neither enemy nor obstacle, but an ally in the journey of self-discovery, each stroke, sound, and step a manifestation of its voice. Cultivating a dialogue between the shadow and the self, marked by compassion and understanding, nurtures a sacred bond, transcending mere acceptance. This nurturing of empathy recognizes every facet of the shadow as an opportunity for profound growth and insight. Through this gentle communion, we weave together the disparate elements of logic and intuition, reason and emotion, into a cohesive whole. The shadow invites us to wade into the paradox, to embrace the intimate spaces of ambiguity without fear, welcoming these contradictions as an equally vital rhythm in the melody of life. Acceptance unfurls into understanding, revealing these mirrored reflections not as an enemy to slay, but as the intimate musings of a loyal confidant that teaches life's most profound lessons. This labyrinthine embrace fosters a nuanced wisdom that enriches our emotional intelligence, transcending traditional dichotomies and illuminating the shadows with more nuanced colors of acceptance. In this intricate dance, boundaries arise not as barriers, but as graceful guardrails guiding our explorations. They serve as the frame which sustains the art of shadow dialogue, revealing the dance between the self's essence and its shadow without tearing at the seams of our being. These boundaries foster resilience, shaping the stage upon which the shadow and self learn not only to coexist, but to honor their primal yet gentle symbiosis. The interplay of shadows extends beyond the self, threading through the fibers of our interpersonal connections. Relationships, too, become mirrors, reflecting shadow aspects often hidden in solitude. Carl Jung's wisdom echoes here, urging us to discover in others the pathways to deeper self-understanding. Our interactions, entwined with reactivity and projection, metamorphose into opportunities ripe for healing and growth as we humbly surrender to the shadow's wisdom. No longer a solitary voyage, shadow work emerges as an ongoing odyssey. The threads of personal growth weave through time, catching the light in new shades of insight and perspective. Resilience fosters adaptability, adapting to the changes and roles that life evokes, ever bending but never breaking in the winds of transformation. Each moment spent with the shadow nurtures a legacy, not left in stone, but gently swirling like the infinity of spirit, dancing in the embrace of time's endless horizon. As we conclude this exploration, the path to wholeness emerges like the misty dawn, calling us to carry forward the shadow's light as part of ourselves and the world around us. Its legacy invites us to listen more intently, to care more deeply, and to venture forth with trust in the path we have set upon. In gentle parting, we shudder this narrative with the quiet assurance that walking with our shadow evokes not only a profound testimony of our evolution, but also invites those around us into the circle as we continue our dance toward harmony and healing. If you found this journey insightful, we welcome you to subscribe and join us as we explore more pathways of self-discovery together.